You know, ladies and gentlemen, there have been a lot of underrated shows. Some shows that when you look here on the YT or the DM or Blimp TV, or you go to and download a torrent, or you go to a place like Mega Upload Forums and or the Cartoon Worlds or the Cartoon Forums websites and download these shows. You know, the one thing a lot of people will say about these shows, ladies and gentlemen, you know what they'll say about them? That even though they were not rating success or critical successes back when they originally first came out, they will come out and say nowadays that these are some of the best cartoons they remember. And one of them that was an underrated success, that was underrated and wasn't given a chance to succeed, was this show, Yo Yogi. Now, for some of you that may remember what what Yo Yogi was about, then you know what I'm about to talk about. But for some of you that don't, and you've seen it here on YouTube, on Daily Motion, Blimp TV, and everywhere else, let me explain what Yo Yogi was about. You see, from the mid 80s up until the early 90s, so for basically about 5 years straight, or 5 to 6 years straight, Hanna-Barbera was on this trend, if you will. They were on this train, if you will. They were on this kick, basically, trend, kick, whatever, of making animated cartoon shows with featuring kid to teen versions, kid to teenage versions of the main characters. That's true. And the list of characters that they kid-sized or teen-sized in these shows is like almost a who's who of Hanna-Barbera. For example, they started off with the Flintstone Kids. That's right. You had Fred, you had Wilma, you had Barney, you had Betty. You had all of them portrayed as kids. And this show was very successful. It lasted for a few seasons. They even had their own special, and I guess it guest starred Michael Jackson as Michael Jackstone or something. I'm not really sure. But it was one of Hanna-Barbera's huge hits when it came to doing the kid/teen versions of the characters. Now, another show that followed about a year or two later, basically 2 years later in '88, was a pup named Scooby-Doo. And again, this was taking already established characters in the Mystery Inc. gang, along with Shaggy and Scooby, and kid-sizing them into kids and a puppy. Now, this show was basically a little bit more wacky, a little bit more Tex Avery-wise than any other show that you could think of. Then after that, they decided to do another teeny bopper, kid version, teen version of the shows. And that was with Tom and Jerry Kids, where you basically saw kid to teen versions of Tom and Jerry. And then the last venture into this category, was in 1991 with NBC, and the show that you see, and the title, and the show that you see in front of you, title picture-wise, Yo Yogi. And just like before, all the main characters that you've known with the Yogi Bear franchise at that time were, well, they weren't kid size, they weren't teeny bopper size, no. They were teenage size. In other words, they were portrayed as teens. And characters like Yogi were in there as a teen, Cindy Bear, Boo Boo, Huckleberry, and Snagglepuss. They were all teenagers. And some reoccurring guest characters like Quick Draw, from what I understand, were portrayed as a teen. You had characters like Top Cat portrayed as a teen. Wally Gator. Now, some others were portrayed in other lights as well. Like you had Magilla Gorilla Cuddy. No, I'm sorry. Magilla Gorilla. You had him portrayed as Magilla Ice. In other words, a take on Vanilla Ice at the time. You had Dick Dastardly, who was like the main antagonist, being known as Dickie Dastardly. Now, what this show, Yo Yogi, had in common with the other ones is they were all sort of set in modern times, which was ironic. But you know, Hanna-Barbera wasn't the only ones that followed into the suit. No. You see, around this time as well, Dick Entertainment, along with Archie Comics, brought out the new Archies, which was a kid version of the Archie characters. But you see, it didn't just stop in the 80s and the early 90s with this, no. Throughout the years, you saw other kid versions as well. Like, last decade, if you will, throughout the 2000s, Cartoon Network had a thing called Baby Looney Tunes. I'm not lying, folks. Baby Looney Tunes. And if that's something, take a look at one of the comic books I like reading, I'm a fan of, which is the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books. When they used to do the 48-page specials, folks, they had two 48-page specials, not in a row, but separate, at separate intervals and occasions. They had two separate 48-page specials entitled Sonic Kids. That's right, Sonic Kids. In other words, it portrayed the characters as kids. Not as you see them now, but as kids. So this medium of reducing and teeny bopping everybody's favorite characters, either the Hanna-Barbera characters, Warner Brother characters, characters in comic books or from comic books, even Disney characters, it's not dead. And it probably never will be dead. But unfortunately, Yo Yogi was one of those teeny bopper versions, if you will, or teen versions or kid versions of the characters that didn't really succeed. But yet a lot of people who watch some clips, if you will, watch some episodes on the YT and the DM and the blimps and all that, they will come out and they will comment in the comment sections that this was a good show and that they miss it and they wish it would come back. But you see, there's a reason it didn't succeed as much as people would probably hope it would. One, it was one of the, if not the last animated venture for NBC Saturday mornings before they became Teen NBC and eventually slowly went from that to being a weekend edition of the Today Show. To basically now be more educational blocked, if you will. Then, of course, there were other situations as well. Some say it was due to the fact that, promotional-wise, they were trying to promote it as one of the first 3D cartoons back in the day. The only 3D thing, though, about it was sometimes the chase scenes or the action scenes. The action scenes or chase scenes where you would have to put your 3D glasses on, and these would be 3D glasses you'd have to purchase from Kellogg's, like through cereals like Rice Krispies and something like that, just so you can watch the show. And a lot of people felt that that is what contributed to the failure, to the unsuccessful run of Yo Yogi. They might be true, but the thing is, that might be true, but I honestly think this show had a lot more to give than what it was given. I mean, maybe one of the reasons some people felt that Yo Yogi wasn't as successful as everything else is because you had characters that are already seen as grown-ups, if you will, in recent incarnations, shown as kids in a more modern setting. But like I said, they're not the only ones. Flintstone Kids were the same way. The new Archies were the same way. Pup Named Scooby-Doo was the same way in some areas. Tom and Jerry Kids were the same way. Baby Looney Tunes was the same way. But, who knows what contributed to it? Some say it's because NBC just didn't want to deal with animation anymore. Some say that, they just wanted to quickly be done with it and get to the teen lineup. That's all they say it was. But who knows? But to me, this show definitely needs to be revisited and brought back either on Boomerang, Cartoon Network, or eventually onto DVD. Because I'll tell you this. No matter what the reason it was that it caused the series to fail on NBC, I guarantee you when it continued on through the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera, there were a lot more viewers. But the truth is, there were a lot more viewers, but the thing is, there's a lot more even today. And I could say this. I don't know what the reason was. It might have been maybe the 3D deal. The fact that you had to get the 3D glasses. Which I admit should have never been done. But they wanted to make it more edgy, more futuristic, I guess. But the truth is, no matter what the reason was, whether they felt that portraying these characters as kids in a modern day setting wasn't the best idea, I don't know. But I'll tell you this, folks. You go on the YT, you go on the DM, and you see episodes on there, you see clips, and people will tell you that this show is one of the best shows that they miss right now. That they miss this show. They want it back. They want a show like that back. There's no doubt about it, folks. I'm not lying. And again, I don't know what the reason was when it got canceled, but who knows? All I know is if someone is listening that's close to the Warner Brothers, someone at Warner Brothers in the Hanna-Barbera department, bring this show back. Put it on Cartoon Network. Put it on Boomerang. Put it on demand, if you will, for Cartoon Network or Boomerang. Put it on DVD finally, and I guarantee you, there's going to be a lot of people buying. There's going to be a lot of fans buying this DVD because they've never heard of the show, or if they have, they haven't seen the entire series, and they'd like to have it. So that's all I'm going to say on it. Give me your comments below. I'll talk to y'all later.